Hello and welcome to another episode of Fulham Chronicles. Hello, Melinda.
Hi, Zara.
I think this is going to be our forever thing when I say hello, Melinda.
Of course, we've got it down now.
Yes, well, this is our signature dish, baby.
It is indeed.
We are up to no good, like we always do, but all that up to no good is for a big good.
Yes.
We have our 1-year anniversary, which we are super excited about, and it's just around the corner. We can finally be saying that. I'm only talking about it, I've got goosebumps. As we know, the secret is still in the bag. What else have we got to...
I think we're very excited that we're about to donate to our first cause, so that's very exciting.
Yes!
So, but we will be able to announce that when they launch the project that
what a long, way we have come to, be able to chat over a coffee as two beautiful friends that we are, and to have, finally found the cause, donated for it, and we know exactly where those money are going to.
Very
so
exciting.
Hurrah to us.
And talking about donating to causes.
Exactly. So who do we have today in our lovely studio?
We are speaking to Jackie Lee, who is the chairman and trustee of the Daisy Trust. So welcome Jackie.
Thank you. So, lovely having you here. So let's start, as we always love to start, with the beginning. So why Daisy Trust? Tell us a bit about the history of what brought you to become the chairman and a trustee. What attracted you for the cause?
Oh, great. Yeah, I love this. I mean, believe it or not, I've been doing volunteering and fundraising since I was a child. So that's always been a part of my everyday. And then for the years that I spent in investment banking, there were always opportunities to volunteer. But what I really worked out was I needed to have a connection to the organization that I was supporting. And I realized that connection could only really happen in my community. And so for me, the Daisy Trust, when the opportunity came, was a really obvious big yes.
Oh, that's brilliant for you to... That means you were really involved in this sort of work, to have waited for an opportunity for something as big as this to come.
Look, I dabbled in it. It wasn't my full-time job. It didn't obviously pay the bills. I'm a volunteer for the Daisy Trust. The Daisy Trust is 100% volunteer. So, it was about finding the right time in my life as well as the right organisation.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And just to explain to everybody who's listening or watching this episode, that's what the Daisy Trust is all about, is Hammersmith and Fulham.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons why I love it too. And obviously it's been going for 40 years. It's got a great kind of backstory and history to it. And also, I think, looking at my notes, I'm terrible at remembering numbers. So since 2010, you've raised over £790,000, which has gone towards 150 beneficiaries in the community, which is
absolutely
incredible. We want to know all about that, Jackie. So we want to know, for somebody that doesn't know and, who doesn't know what Daisy Trust is all about, who is Daisy Trust?
Yes, it's a very good and very big question. And just to add to your numbers, because I like numbers as well, over the last 5 years, we've given to nearly 90 beneficiaries. So actually it shows that there has been a massive increase. Nearly half of the number has been in the last 5 years versus the last 15 years of giving. So the Daisy does two things. It raises funds at events, and happy to talk about that if you're interested.
Definitely.
And we give money that we raise back as grants to beneficiaries in Hammersmith and Fulham, as you rightly said, to help people living in the borough. And we every month receive grant requests from potential beneficiaries that are seeking funding. And every month, the Daisy Trust committees sit down and review those grant requests and then give that money, give those grants to the beneficiaries that we believe are doing fabulous work in the borough.
So if we can talk maybe a little bit about some of those beneficiaries, because it could be anything from to cover education, obviously community we've spoken about, health, people who are in need, relief from poverty, because actually I think one of the things that people always think about is Fulham is this rather she bubble life kind of place, but actually it's not. It's a very diverse community.
And this was my question when me and Melinda, as I did mention before, she's very aware of you. And, that doesn't mean I didn't hear of you, but I didn't particularly know all the beautiful work that you guys are doing. So I think it would be great for somebody like me, that knows but does not know a lot like Melinda does. How do you choose who is your beneficiary?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I'll give you a bit of colour by way of example. We like to work with organisations that help a large number of people. So that is one of the first criteria. We don't help individuals. We would not support an organisation that wasn't established or didn't have any track record. So we would look to make sure that the organisation that we're supporting was able to stand on its own 2 feet.
Would we be able to give some examples? So in case of, obviously you don't need to tell us all, just one or two that come into your head. And the reason for that is if there are others out there with track record in Hammersmith and Fulham that would like to get in touch with you, it'd be good for them to see what are you looking at in terms of organizations.
Yes. So this morning I've just been at Hammersmith and Fulham Food Bank's warehouse, looking at all the tons of food they have there. Hammersmith and Fulham Food Bank is one of the busiest in Fulham. And
that shows exactly what Melinda said about the vision people have of West London and Fulham in our.
Sorry, let me correct that. Hammersmith and Fulham Food Bank is one of the busiest in London. And to your point, Melinda, it is often seen as a area in London that's very well off, but there are, very significant levels of poverty.
Something like, wasn't it? 27.7% of children in Hammersmith and Fulham are living in poverty.
Exactly. It's a very big number. And 30% of the food parcels that the food bank gives out are for children, which is, a very big number. So what the Daisy Trust does for the food bank is we actually help fund to keep their white vans on the road. So those vans are critical to go and pick up food that is being donated by supermarkets and also then to make the deliveries. With the funding that we give, they were able to put a second van on the road, which has been really important for them because of the increase in demand. Because of the cost of living crisis, I think one of the hardest hit areas in the borough has been food poverty. Look, we do a lot with schools, and there was a school that was newly built in Fulham a few years ago, and they had no funding for a school library. So that was the type of thing that we would help fund. We also help schools for children that are on free school meals to go on school trips.
Expensive.
And that's so important.
Yeah. To feel that they're included and not missing out.
Yeah. And we also do trips for the elderly too, people who are in isolation. So it's not just children. We like to be able to support people who wouldn't otherwise have access to any joy or, company of others in their lives. So the elderly is another massive area that we support.
I think there's the two, the two biggest pylons of our society that need help, and often, the latter are forgotten. So, it's good to, to talk about that too. So, okay, so we've got the food bank. Let's mention one more that comes into your,
Well, Barron's Court Project do incredible work for homelessness, and obviously that is an ongoing issue in London. There are very significant levels of homelessness. And one of the things that we try and do as the Daisy, we're not set in stone about what we fund. We respond to need. And it doesn't matter if it's a big need or a small need, but what we will do is help with whatever is required at the time. So, for example, in COVID times, when a lot of homeless people couldn't go to the shelters anymore, we helped them get funding for mobile phones so they could stay
Did
in
you know that?
contact.
No,
That's brilliant.
Yeah, they could stay in contact. So we try and adapt. And then recently at Christmas, we funded streetlights, which feed a lot of homeless people. So we
But you
help
would
them
have
fund.
not, who would have
Yeah.
ever thought,
Mm.
why would Daisy Trust, 'cause we are having a chat about all of this beautiful organization, still feeds into the homelessness part of the world we're living in through something as little as what you've done for Christmas.
Streetlights works to feed people from a tiny church in Hammersmith and Fulham, and they help the homeless. They found us because they were looking at a way to raise money, so they used search engines and literally came across us through a search engine. That's how they found us. A lot of people find us through word of mouth or through.
That's why I'm asking,
Yeah.
because it's beautiful to know that somebody has just looked for a opportunity
Yeah.
of help in
Yeah.
the area and they still
Mhm.
found you.
Mm.
So it doesn't matter, as you just mentioned,
Yeah.
you just took it
Yeah.
from my mouth, but word
Yeah.
of mouth, sometimes it's, it might be 90% important, but it's also important what else you do for the community in order to stand out.
Well, I think having supported 169 organizations over the last 15 years, there's a very strong network of beneficiaries.
Word gets out.
Word
Yeah,
gets
word gets
out.
out.
And what we've found is a lot of those beneficiaries work with each other. So I can go to a meeting with a new beneficiary and find that we have 10 people that we work with in common. So there is a very big word of mouth network out there. In terms of the other side of what we do and the events and the fundraising, that is very significant. And I think that the Daisy Trust Fair is our most well-known event. And we've been hosting that in Hammersmith and Fulham even well before my time, before I became chairman 8 years ago. So that event has been going on for a very long time. And we have just a very significant loyal following that's been
that was the
built
next
up.
question I
love
was going
that.
to ask, actually, was sort of how do you fundraise exactly? I'm aware of the events, but also people know how they can support the Daisy Trust, and it's quite sort of simple way, just especially for an event like that. The Daisy Trust Fair is just come along, do a bit of shopping, pay your entrance fee, see some people in Fulham, reconnect with friends, pick up a few presents.
It's a social day out, isn't it, Melinda? You end up seeing lots of people you know.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's such an important aspect because, as you said, you would go to a networking event and you would find out that you already know the new beneficiary through other beneficiaries you're already collaborating with. So it's not only the aspect of helping, it's also the sense of community within the charity and charitable communities. And what I want to go from here with is the longevity. I think so many people are donating to cancer research. I'm just to give an example because, again, they are for so long out there and people do trust where the money are going to. But it's important we know that somebody that's for 40 years, in the community doing that, it shows exactly the same trust.
Well, I think people understand that we take the work that we do really seriously. And when we meet a new beneficiary, we are getting to know them. We get to understand the work that they do. We don't just say, yes, here's some funding. We go and meet with them. We have regular updates from them. So it's really important to us that we are very thorough in the way that we understand the people that we support. And I think that means that people who want to donate to us can do it with confidence. And they can also do it knowing that for every £1 they donate to us, that goes straight through to the end beneficiary. We are all volunteers. We have no running costs, believe it or not.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the only running costs we have, the only costs we have are for when we host events. And when we host events, we get sponsorship. So, for example, the Daisy Trust Fair, all the costs for us of setting it up, renting the space, getting security, the parking, all the logistics behind it, all those costs are covered by sponsors.
Mm.
Savills have been our long-standing
sponsor,
sponsor, and they've been absolutely fantastic. So that everybody who spends money in that fair can know that their money goes directly to help people in need in the borough.
So that's in October. So that's
in October, exactly.
then,
back at the Hurling Club this year.
Yes, you're back after they did some renovations, I think. And what other events? I think you have Christmas. You have.
So actually, we do have a Christmas carol concert at St Dionysus Church in December. And that this will be the third year in a row we've done it. It's a lovely community event. It's really one of my favourites.
What I said, I will ask, why Daisy Trust has a name? You should be big in spring. You should be booming and booming. What are you doing?
That's how we started on Daisy Lane in Fulham in the springtime. So, well before my time, it was founded by a lovely couple, Caroline Ground, who's since passed, but her husband, who's the chairman of trustees of the Daisy. They started it together, working with other volunteers in the borough to support organisations. So Sepia, Julie Kavanagh, that runs Sepia, knew Patrick and Caroline well before my time, because they were one of their
Do you want to explain to people who don't know maybe what Sepia is as well?
Sepia is a children's after-school centre based in Sandsend that looks after children from the afternoon, gives them a hot meal, helps them with homework and play and snacks, and make sure that they go home well fed. And they also do wraparound care in the holidays
to support parents.
So and they've started doing some youth work as well. It's a fantastic and very much needed in the borough.
Definitely.
But I think we should, scream a bit more about what do you think? So talking business like, right? Because obviously we are here to give you the visibility, and not for just people that hear us, but people to see us too. What is that you think for this quarter or this year or whatever, the charity works, is where the need is actually a need?
There are so many different needs across the borough. As you know, Hammersmith and Fulham is a borough that accepts a lot of asylum seekers and a lot of migrants, and a lot of those people who come here looking for a safe haven into the UK have to go through the system, and that takes a very long time. So there are organisations in the borough, West London Welcome being the biggest one, that does a lot to support them. And we love the work that they do, because there are families who are really struggling with any form of happy, joyful life here. And West London Welcome are able to give them that. They give them meals, they introduce them to other people, they signpost to other organisations, help them with benefits. So that is a big need.
Absolute shock. When I've moved to Fulham, like it's been 10 years ago that I've firstly stepped foot in here. I was shocked to the system when somebody's told me that they can live in one of the alphabet streets and they are from all sorts of backgrounds and stuff. So for me was the inclusiveness of, we are welcoming you, we are wanting you to be part of our community. It's massive, because they do feel, and for somebody to cater for them, through our mind endeavors, and for you, through schools and meeting them or whatever, it's important for them to know that it doesn't really matter who you are, where you come from, you are welcome.
One of the other big areas is mental health, and that is a growing concern. And really what it does is it touches on every aspect of someone's life. So, you might struggle to get a job, you might struggle to feed yourself, you might end up in isolation, you probably do have physical health issues as well as mental health. So counselling is another big area that we try and support. That we've seen through schools as well as through adult counselling. It's really, I would say, especially post-COVID and looking at children reintegrating back into the education system, the counselling side is a really big area for us where we can make a big difference.
Yeah,
You know-
we've talked about. Sorry to interrupt.
No.
We've talked about the big issues that Daisy Trust helps with, but I also think it's important to get across that it always doesn't have to be a huge campaign or
Yeah.
huge. You do also help with smaller things. If my memory serves me correctly, I think Lady Margaret School were desperate to get a piano, and I think you supported and Daisy Trust gave a donation to that. There
That's
are
beautiful.
Yes.
smaller things as well that can make a big difference.
Exactly. And, school library is another example. In a children's music house for children a few years ago, we put in a new carpet. And in Ray's Playhouse, we funded a boiler. So that was
wow.
actually
Really?
quite a big... It was a big expense
That's
for
for
them
them, yeah.
and for us, but it's a small thing that made a very, very large difference.
I love that question, Melinda. I think, it makes so much of a
Mm.
difference to know that it doesn't matter, the level of need that is out there. Daisy Trust is always there to listen, and if possible and matches everything, can be a good help.
And then, other than coming along to your events, is there any other way that local residents and people who have also that shared feeling of community can then support the work of the Daisy Trust? Obviously, they could
That's
maybe
so
become
kind.
a volunteer, or
That's
they
so
could.
kind of you to ask. I think that most simply, we do have a donation button on our website, and that allows people who can't attend events but also want to give and contribute to give financially. And we have some lovely regular donors, actually.
Oh, wow. From the borough?
From the borough. And we
Okay.
also have quite a few local schools that choose us as their designated charity. So, for example, Kensington Prep last year donated a third of the funds that they'd raised throughout their summer fete towards the Daisy Trust. So, I think donation is a very significant part of how people can help. Obviously, coming along to events is again how we raise money. So if our events aren't supported, then we don't raise money.
Yeah.
Now, helping at those events is always a great thing to do, and we love for people to do that. We have a group of volunteers that are really pretty much well known to the committee or someone on the committee, and we call those the Friends of the Daisy Trust.
Right.
So if you want to become a friend of the Daisy Trust or want to understand more about what that does, then absolutely come along to one of our events, speak to one of our committee, and we'd happily invite you to events that we specifically host for friends.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, so now we know what the Daisy Trust does and how do they do it. Now, anything, bigger than, think about October and Christmas time comes around the corner, or would you be open for anybody, to pitch this to you and say, okay, let's do something in June? So are you welcome to have more events throughout the year?
Well, I haven't talked about our biggest event yet this
right.
year,
Well, we
which
got you there.
is, you didn't know because you didn't know.
No, there you
it's
go.
the Daisy Trust Ball,
Okay.
which will be
fantastic.
held in June. And it will be at the Fulham Pier, which is the new development of the Fulham Football Club on the Riverside. And it's supported by Fulham Pier and the Fulham Foundation. So we're really grateful for them for hosting us. It'll be a really fun evening. So
Any little hints and things that you can give
Yeah,
of
that would
what
be
people
nice.
can look forward
Just
to?
Yeah.
Little teaser.
look, it is a big fundraiser. It's a glamorous evening.
Are we talking about tickets, sit-down meal?
It's a 3-course dinner
Okay.
with entertainment by the riverside and dinner and dancing
Are
and
we invited?
auction. Absolutely. And it's going to be a bit of a special event. The last time we did it was 3 years ago. And it was obviously before we were able to host it at Fulham Pier. We hosted it at St. Paul's Church in Hammersmith. And it was a bit of a wow moment, I think, to say. So I can't reveal more than that.
No,
at the
Oh, no,
moment.
we are excited. You
Yeah.
can see the smiles on our
Yeah.
face,
Yeah.
especially we are so close now to Fulham FC Foundation.
Yes.
So, for both, Fulham Social Hub and Daisy Trust is a beautiful place to have. And for Fulham
Yes.
itself, to have what a fantastic, space that's going to offer, is going to have so much to offer.
Yeah. Gonna have a busy year, Jackie.
It's going to be a really, really busy year. And we're really lucky because we have the support of some very loyal businesses. So they help us to, again, fund some of the costs of this event. Obviously, the ticket price will cover the basic food and beverage and all of those things. But there are other costs that go into hosting an event. So we're really grateful.
Yeah, we know.
We have Thompson Private Wealth that has sponsored us for over 5 years. Pog and Pole, a kitchen manufacturer, that sponsored us for our last ball and every event in between. So obviously, I've mentioned Savills who sponsor the fair. So we feel we're very well supported by local businesses. We're always happy to have more support as well.
It's nice how you're humbly saying that, but it's a lot of years of work that have started 40 years ago to have made it, so great for them to be a part of by, being your bigger supporters. Are you going to fundraise for something or just for Daisy Trust in
No, so the way we work is, as I said, we respond to needs.
okay.
So for us, it's
Sorry to interrupt, Jackie. But people apply, don't they? They send in
their grant request. So we respond. So I'm not going to fundraise for a particular thing because I don't know what it's coming. I don't know what's coming. But what I can do is give people a flavour of how much a donation of £1,000 could contribute to the beneficiaries' ongoing activities. So we will, that's the way we do it.
You know what I love in the climate that the world is at the moment. It's it's beautiful to see that there are still. I don't want to call them the 1% because I know for a fact there are so many people in Hammersmith and Fulham that can't afford, but they feel like if they do a little teeny bit, for the community, that's a big thing for them. So sometimes it's not just the funds you put in, it's what those funds do to you as an individual. So it's, you welcome anyone and everyone to help.
Exactly. But say, for example, the £1,000, it might pay for a minibus journey for a group of youths from Brunswick to go on their summer vacation, their summer trip. That's really important. So we try and make sure that everything we fund is tangible and meaningful to that organisation. We don't fund to keep the lights on or the roof stopping leaking or ongoing salaries. We want to fund tangible activities.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, so that's what we will be fundraising for. And the ball, last time we did it in 2022, raised over 100,000 in one night.
Wow.
So it's a big event for us.
Beautiful. But that's amazing. And it does show that, you're doing as well a fantastic work.
So basically the events that you put on, obviously not everybody can afford to maybe go to a ball or buy that ticket, but what you do is you put on a range of events across the year that's really accessible for everybody.
Exactly. And that's really important to us because at the end of the day, we're there to raise funds for our community. And also, it's not just the fundraising element that's important to the Daisy. It is the sense of community. It is the sense of contributing. So whether it's £10 entry to go to the fair and do some shopping or attend the carol service at Christmas for a slightly higher amount, we do feel that we offer events which are really accessible.
Or just to go onto your website, press that donation button for £5.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Rather than, think, well, I'm not going to buy a coffee today.
Exactly.
I'll give something and make myself feel better and know that I'm contributing.
Also, I would love, if you would be open to it, to think about a way of getting the neighborhood to donate for days, the entire neighborhood, so we can get, obviously we can only help you with SW6, but we could just, spread the word through our lovely Fulhamite membership, which I don't know if you know anything about. But that goes straight to the resident that does buy a coffee and the resident that does do more in the neighborhood. So we could say that obviously not through our cause, because as you know, we donate quarterly or yearly, and we could do it in the future. We would love to support you guys.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
like a small thing, they could, the coffee shops, the bakeries, the fishmongery, the butchers, they can donate 1% of 1 month of their taking. So we can do that in December,
Yeah,
where
that
we
would
can
be fabulous.
initiate
That
me,
would be absolutely brilliant.
us, that £5 of coffee, even if it's 50p, if it goes
Well, it's
through
nearly
the-
£5 of coffee, isn't it?
It
It's
is.
getting there.
I
£4.
cannot believe it. But they could, even if they do cash, then they could go, the business owner can go to the bank and donate. You don't even need to know where those money are coming from. What you should expect is that in that period of time, if we put our powers together, a bigger chunk will come.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
Very good
let's
plan.
do it.
Thank you.
We are
Thank
all
you.
here for the community together,
Thank
for
you.
the same reasons, but in different,
Different ways.
Exactly.
Yeah. Different ways and guises.
Yes.
Right. So should we go to, we always ask an on-the-spot question.
Yeah, why did you make it so sweet? We are always being very, not sweet when we say, yeah.
Mhm.
So do you want to go first or shall I? Or
Yeah, I don't mind going first.
go ahead.
So obviously we know now why did you join Daisy Trust. But if you were to choose so far a moment that absolutely marked your within passion that was fed from such an early age to say, I have made the best choice.
Oh, that's
So
a
a
really
proud
good
moment.
question.
Damn, I was going to ask that one. I'm going to have to quickly think of something else now.
No. Were you actually?
I was.
Oh my God.
It's never happened before.
Well, that's why we're here together.
I don't know if I'm really answering your question, but I come away from meeting beneficiaries who do such incredible work, and I just, I'm so proud of the community we live in because there are so many good people out there.
I love your answer,
who
but
are
I want
making a
a
difference.
Jackie answer. So when you wake up in the morning and you put your lovely, cream on or whatever you want, you take a shower and you just, when they say that if you do what you love, it doesn't feel like work. Now, one of those moments where like, it could be 5 years ago, it could have been in COVID, it could have been with your family having a chat over dinner table when you just felt like, oh my goodness me, we made such a change this month or this year that I feel like I couldn't have joined another charity.
Look, doing the ball for the first time because it was an event that I initiated. I didn't inherit that event.
So it was you, it was Jackie bringing something at a table.
Yes.
Which is beautiful.
Yes.
Okay. And you did say how much you raised, which,
Yes.
It's a phenomenal amount.
That's definitely something to be proud of.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I know it's a very, it's talking about numbers and, but also those numbers have gone to the right causes, which I think is fantastic. I'm happy with
Glad
that
I got
answer.
to your answer. Actually.
Yeah, but that's why I'm glad I could help taking it out
Yes.
because it's important, even for you, because you might not be the only one, but you are a part of that something that does make a difference.
Thank you.
So my question, pivot, is what brought you to Fulham?
Oh, wow.
How did you end up?
I was heavily pregnant, like most people, desperate to find a home. And
So you're a resident?
I'm a resident, yes. So, newlywed, first child. It was just a beautiful area, green spaces, close to the river. Growing up in Sydney, it was important to have some glimpse of the water nearby.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had family that were reasonably close by as well. And I had a great colleague at work who said to me, Jackie, there's one place you should live and that's Parsons Green. And after I moved here, he moved out with his wife to the countryside. But I didn't take it personally.
Well, he
So,
did.
yeah.
Yeah, hopefully he did introduce you to a wonderful place of the world. And obviously with this place, you have been given Daisy Trust.
Exactly. And I see, that's my job to be steward of the Daisy Trust so that it's still thriving in another 40 years or 80 years, however long. It's here to stay. We're not going anywhere.
No, I think I'm sure it will be. And I think that's a really lovely note to wrap things up. So thank you so much, Jackie, for coming in today.
Pleasure.
We've really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you so much. And also, for everybody that have not known of you, which I think it's so important because people look at this as, oh, did you not hear about us? Obviously this can be out the record, but her face, Jackie's face is like, don't say that. But that's so good.
Yeah, but you can't reach everybody, and there's always going to be new people coming to the community.
And it's good
all
for
of
you
that.
as well, like fresh, like fresh
Exactly.
faces, fresh energy,
yes.
fresh sponsors with different needs.
Yes.
Because some of them can be old school, been there for a long
Exactly.
time, as we
Yeah.
all know. So yeah,
yes.
thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, we appreciate
you.
it. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your time.
And also, should we say thank you so very much to our lovely sponsors?
We
Melinda?
always do, absolutely. So yes, go and hit that donation button for the Daisy Trust.
Yes, do it.
And a huge thank you to the team at VoxPod, this lovely studio
Thank you.
in the heart of Parsons Green.
Yes.
Thank you for your support. And also to our fabulous sponsors, Fulham FC Foundation. We couldn't do this without their support. So thank you again,
Thank
Jackie.
you so
Yeah.
much for being
Take
here
care.
today. Thank you.